Hello. Welcome to the Record Players podcast, where we do a mixture of recent album reviews, tier lists, topical music discussions. Today's episode, we're doing a year-end special. So we've got some recommendations for you. So the format is, we've all picked top 3 albums. So we're going to have a top 3 albums of the year. That's our nice list. We also have disappointments for the year. That's our naughty list. And then for certain songs, there's a couple of songs that have come out this year that we all liked and enjoyed, but didn't make it to an album. So we're gonna have some favorite tracks that we've had for this year that don't quite fit on an album. So without further ado, I'm Dennis.
Hey, I'm Hattie.
I'm Jack.
We are the Record Players.
And Christmas is not cancelled. Kind of.
For the next hour and a half.
Yeah. Bringing it back.
We're still keeping the spirit. Right. So let's jump right into this with top 3 albums.
Okay.
Hattie, would you like to kick us off with one of your top 3 albums?
Yeah. So I guess we'll kind of do in no particular order. Yeah. We're just kind of just gonna go top 3. Okay. So my first pick, and I kind of did this in order from release of these albums, but so the earliest one that really stood out to me was an album. Well, it was an EP, but it was so good that I had to include it. Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats, Unlocked.
Oh, we've got rule bending already.
Well, I need to double check the length of this.
I almost did the same thing. So it's a bit tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
me saying that, but yeah.
Here's the thing. This was of such good quality that I could not include it. Okay, yeah, it's 17 minutes, so it's definitely
17
an EP.
minutes.
Yeah. But dude, it's so good. Have either of you listened to this?
No.
Okay, all right. So let me sell it to you. So this album to me, right, for anyone that's a hip hop fan, this album to me feels like a sequel to Mad Villain. Mad Villainy, but for the 2020s. So if anyone's familiar with, MF Doom and Madlib's collaboration, a classic early 2000s hip hop album, this kind of has the same vibe. So, I'm a big Denzel Curry fan in general. I don't know if either of you guys have much experience listening to him. I feel like we've talked about him before.
He's one of the most roller coaster rappers alive today. He's either hitting that top quality shit, or he's making you question his career choices. Really?
Okay. Yeah. Dennis, are you the same on Denzel Curry?
I'm not sure what to make of Denzel Curry. I've tried to get into him. Did he have an album, Nostalgia 64?
Yeah, but that was really old. I kind of felt like he didn't. That was I think it was a mixtape. He didn't really come to his own until he released his first proper album, which I think was Imperial, which is fucking sick. But I would genuinely say he's one of my favorite newer school rappers. He's up there with Jid and Saba as one of the best new school, and opposite to kind of what you're saying, Jack. I think everything he's done since Imperial, his first proper album, has been stellar. But this EP in particular, I think he's peaked. So like I said, it's got the kind of vibe of an album like Mad Villainy. The kind of the samples are kind of based in terms of kind of having old off kilter kind of movie and TV soundtracks kind of spliced in, and it's so the drums are so hard hitting, but it's just so kind of dissonant and weird. It feels like a collage of different elements. Like I said, Denzel Curry, I think he's I can understand why someone might not be keen on him, because his approach typically up to this point has been very brash and almost he's got a shouty in your face delivery almost all the time, which I don't mind. But on this album, I found he perfected the ability to kind of use that kind of shouty in your face element of rapping when it called for it. But other times he's very smooth. There was so much kind of production in terms of kind of mixing his vocals to be high pitched, lower pitched. He just did so much with his voice that it kind of it was almost like him saying okay, no, I'm not just monotone, I'm not just one thing, I'm able to do all of these different flows and different sounds. And it just the whole album, it's a perfect balance between being heavy and in your face, but it still sounds fun, like I said, with the kind of the kind of movie samples and all the weird effects. It's like relaxed but also like angry and heavy. It's great. I couldn't leave it off this list, even though it's an EP.
I do appreciate a good sample in hip hop, and a hip hop album that's primarily samples. In fact, one of my top three that we're going to go into is the reason why I picked it is because it's one of those traditional hip hop albums where it's primarily samples rather than just a produced beat.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think for this, if anyone's a fan of, like I said, if anyone's a fan of like someone like MF Doom or Madlib, even as individuals, or I'm thinking even like a Mos Def or something, you got to listen to this. You got to listen to this. It's great. It's probably it's my favorite rap project of the year.
So that's Hattie's recommendation. Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats, Unlocked. An EP, breaking the rules a little bit, but we'll allow it.
Everything else is,
it's a
over
Christmas
40
miracle.
minutes, I think.
They turned a 17-minute EP into a full album just for this list.
Hey.
All right, I'll go into one of my top three albums now. I put this on here mostly because all my lists are very hip hop heavy, so I wanted something a little bit different. And we've already got a hip hop album in there from Hattie with Denzel Curry, so I wanted to put something else in there. So one of my top is Slow Rush by Tame Impala. I heard this album a little bit earlier in the year. I've been meaning to get into Tame Impala for a while, and I didn't know where to start. I tried listening to one of his other albums. It's the one with the hotel on the cover, the hotel pool on the cover. Let me do a quick search. It's one of his other.
Well, they've only had 4 albums, and I don't know one with that on the cover. I know the first album was In a Speaker, and then there was.
Apologies, it's Lonerism. So I tried listening to
the second one.
Yeah,
I think that's considered the best.
Isn't Tame Impala? Isn't it one man band? It's just a single guy, right?
Kevin Parker. He's like the kind of the mastermind, and I guess he has like studio musicians or like live things, but it is his band. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not really a fan of one man bands in general. I find the music just is a little bit flat to me because it's just not as diverse as getting multiple people's ideas into a mixing pot and how that will turn out. But I was surprised with this album. I actually really, really enjoyed it. It's one of his newer albums, so I thought it's a risk trying to get into Tame Impala from one of his newer albums. Maybe I should go to one of his recommended albums from his discography. But still ended up really, really enjoying it. The styles were a little bit all over the place. There was 80s pop styles on the album. There's also just electronica on the album, sort of traditional rock songs on the album. So yeah, there's a wide variety of styles in there. Really, really interesting sonically.
Great album cover as well. Just wanted to say I have listened to it and I liked it, but yeah, that album cover is amazing.
It is great. I've got a picture saved that's it's not the same compositionally, but like in terms of the effect put on it and the amount of like the level of contrast and like the colors, the way they're blended together and stuff like that. I've got a very similar picture saved, ready to contact the people and license it whenever I need to get some album art done. It's been saved for years. It's sick.
It's a thing that for me, technically it shouldn't matter to the music, but it kind of, when you see a great a cover that kind of sets the tone for the music, it can add to it a little bit, when you've got that just staring in your library, even if it's in your computer, it does kind of change how you can consume
that Dre
music.
Chronic album cover.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything. It's just like with a music video or something. It adds to the audio when you've got a great presentation. Sorry to interrupt, Dennis. But
no, I didn't have much more to say to it. So yeah, one example of sort of just how sort of diverse the sounds are on this album. If you even the track opener, One More Year, it starts out with this like sort of distorted organ type sound. And it's so trippy. If you've got headphones on, it just brings you and sucks you into this atmospheric vibe, and then you're just sucked in. Now, I wasn't sure whether to put Gorillaz on this album, Song Machine Season 1, because I thought they're kind of similar sort of styles.
Sounds, yeah.
But if it wasn't for the bonus album, if it wasn't for the deluxe Song Machine Season 1, then this would have got it hands down. And that's why I put this over Song Machine Season 1, because sonically it's got sort of a consistent theme all the way through. The songs work together all the way through, whereas the Song Machine, we had discussion during our review that we would have rearranged the tracks a little bit, trimmed it down a little bit.
That's interesting. Yeah, I kind of, on a similar note, I was fighting for whether I should put KG on this list.
I thought one of you guys would put KG, because you both really enjoyed the album when we talked about it.
But we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Maybe it still is. Maybe it isn't. But no, it's a good album. I need to listen to it more. But this would be an honourable mention for me. I didn't put it in my list, but it would definitely be one I would re-listen to.
The Slow Rush.
Yes, yeah, Tame Impala, yeah. It's a good one.
I almost had this as a recommendation for you, because I know you're a Tame Impala fan, but then went with something else.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be at least one gift that we do later that's going to be like, oh, I've already got it, mate. You know, what's the returns policy? I really wonder if both of you have heard the gifts that I've got for you. We'll see.
Yeah, I've already a little peek behind the curtain, obviously, because I do the pre-production. I've already seen the lists. I've not seen the gifts, but I've seen the list for people. And even looking at that by myself, I was just sat here opening the emails going, this means things.
Yeah. But it's about the debate. It's about the why, which we're going to get into. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Jack, let's keep this moving. Give us one of your top 3.
Okay. So, I'm going to go with what... No, I mean, I want to save that. So, my first nice list recommendation for the year is Jacob Collier's Jessie Volume 3, because the dude is just like a straight up musical genius. Before we get into any conversation about him, the dude's insane.
He does make me angry though, but his musical talent.
In the delivery of his music, you mean?
No, as in just that he's so talented across so many musicians, so many instruments, and the abilities he has in terms of harmonies and theory knowledge. It's too much. It's too much.
It is. I also feel like I've seen a lot of arguments for he doesn't always fully deliver, in terms of like he kind of fits within this song space rather than like works or pieces.
He's like a blank slate of musical ideas more than a personality, but yeah.
Well, no. I mean, like a lot of people will say that he should be composing this massively cerebral, pieces of music rather than going for making more accessible songs that, you know what I mean? It's like when on the surface a Stevie Wonder song is a song that you could just vibe to and it's got some good good bass lines and stuff. If you break it down and look at what he's actually composed, the dude was insane. The types of harmonies he was forming, the modulations he used to get chorus rises out of songs was incredible.
But listening that's the ideal. You want to have songs that are timeless and appeal to a wide variety of people, but also have the complexity. You don't want to sacrifice either, ideally.
I would say on Jacob Collier's previous 2 albums, the Jessie Volume 1 and 2, he's definitely more of a victim of that, because it's more kind of he always talks about the space.
A victim of doing what too much? Being too complex or too...
A victim of having of kind of paying too much mind to creating accessibility but trying to cram the higher tier musical theory elements in there. Whereas on this album, it's more of it's more about the end piece of music. It's more about most tracks is more about the funk or the dance or the groove he's trying to make. Whereas previously he's had obviously a massive hit, Hideaways, all kind of really personal and acoustic sounds, and they're really internal. He always talks about space. It's always a really balance between kind of soft stuff and love. I think that getting a chance to work with all the artists that he's got to work with on this album,
there's a lot of
features, working with them in the way that he has, creating this kind of more electronic, vibey music it's almost like he knows that it's a safe place anyway. So all the extra layers of the music that he's put in there doesn't feel forced at all. It's what made me think of. He's obviously a massive Stevie Wonder fan, but it's what made me think of the Stevie Wonder comparison myself. Is that he has created funky dancing tracks with all that hidden depth, and I think he's just nailed it on this album.
Right, found that balance that maybe he didn't have on the first two.
It's
series.
difficult to explain because it was definitely intentional. He's had such a clear musical goal for each of the albums that he's done. It's like the first Tyler trilogy. He had such a clear path for what these albums are, and there's a fourth one coming where he's got a plan in place already anyway. But yeah, I feel like he's obviously developing as he goes through, and this is the first one where his plan for it enables him rather than kind of, you know, puts him in that box that I don't think he necessarily fits in.
That's cool. Out of curiosity, because I haven't listened to this one, but obviously I've listened to other albums from him and generally know him. What's the deal with the naming? Do you know what Jesse is about, the title?
I have done at some point, but I can't remember now off the top of my head. Yeah, I can't remember now, but
it's got to have some importance, right? If he's doing 4 albums with the same.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's got that same like djembe spelling, so I wonder if there's a
brief description. Brief description on YouTube Music says that is a reference to Collier's own initials. Each of the albums in the series has been described by NPR as representing different parts of the day. Yeah. So it's going from like you wake up and you're in that small space in your room, and then it like opens up to being outside and like the kind of wider spaces. This is like the evening party, and then the fourth one's going to be like a recapitulation, getting back to that first like inside safe space.
Cool.
It looks like this has been nominated for the Grammys.
Yeah, he won some stuff last year. Couple Grammys, I want to say, for his arrangements of All Night Long and something else. I can't remember off the top of my head, but absolutely, if there's someone alive right now making popular music who deserves Grammys, this is the dude.
This might be a good transition for my second favorite. If you're happy to move on, because if we're talking about Grammy, well, you're talking about a well-deserved Grammy. I want to talk about a huge snub with my second album. Okay, so my second pick is Fiona Apple, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. So I've been a Fiona Apple fan for quite a while. Again, I'm not sure whether you guys have listened or been a fan
idea
yourselves.
But when I saw the title, when I saw the album art, it looks punk as fuck, so I'm very interested. Also, Fiona Apple is a very like DIY name.
Yeah, well, it's a DIY album in a lot of ways, but kind of, like I said, I've been a fan for her for ages. I loved her first couple of albums. You know, I mean, you know, for you guys, she's just a great artist that kind of makes like, you know, really like soulful, smooth, kind of like pop, you know, folky music. But you know, on this album, she really goes out of her way to kind of experiment and do something weird. So this album, I believe, is like looking on like Metacritic and stuff. I think it's like got the highest like critic rating of everything, so it's like the most acclaimed album of the year, like critically, which is interesting, like by a good margin. But it's not
out of every album released.
Yeah, like out of every album on Metacritic, it's like the top one.
He did say that, but I heard Metacritic, and I thought it was about Jiminy Cricket doing it,
which is funny. But she and there's lots of reviews, but she isn't nominated for like best album in the Grammys. I think she's got like a best like alternative album, but again, to me that just seems like a relegation when it's universally praised. But I don't want to get into that. Fuck the Grammys.
Alternative's a bullshit genre anyway.
Yeah, but yeah. So this album it takes a while to get into if you're going to get into it, but it's great. So I guess the concept behind this album is it was a lockdown album. It was all recorded at home by her. You know. A lot of the instrumentation in terms of like, you know, like the drums on this record, a lot of it comes from like percussion in terms of just her like banging like pots and items she's got at home, and she's layered tracks based on, you know, things that she's found at home to make like a kind of huge like wall of percussion. It's awesome. Like her voice is so like kind of raw. There's very little like post production on it. It's just dry in your face, and she goes from being like brittle and harsh and kind of screaming into kind of songs where she's so like smooth and angelic. It's just such like a like unfiltered like DIY album, and I love the fact that it's getting so much like acclaim, because it's not what you would normally expect like to be like praised in like the mainstream consciousness. So it's like I said, I just love that it's raw, unpolished. You know, you can hear the mistakes, and it's a very human album. And like I said, coming at a time, I think it was released in, you know, kind of within the first month or two of like all the countries going into lockdown. It kind of really represents kind of the idea of like being stuck at home, doing things on your own, and sharing that. I mean, even with the title like "Fetch the Bolt Cutters," it kind of plays on her thing of her idea of like she's kind of stayed out of the public eye for quite a while. She's not someone that you really kind of hear much about until she releases an album. So kind of for her with this album, it's kind of like saying, you know, I've been on lockdown for years. This isn't new to me. And now I'm ready to kind of share myself with you. I fucking love it, and would definitely recommend you guys check it out.
It does sound...
It deserves the praise it gets.
It sounds very unconventional, and I love those albums where it's kind of like it's sort of improvisation, but with like a loose framework. I think a lot of jazz albums are like that.
Yeah, I mean, you've even got things like, I think she has like a lot of like dogs at home, and there's even like even on the tracks you can hear like her dogs like barking in the background. It's just such like, you know, it's like a fly on the wall, like listen into what her life's like, but you know, with great songs.
Yeah. Definitely. So you've got this beautiful music, but then at the same time you've got like it's just like a slice of life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's beautiful melodies, great songwriting, and then you just hear like dogs barking in the background while she's like smacking on a fucking frying pan. You know, it's cool. It's cool as fuck.
Looking at how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Hopefully not from the dogs.
Hopefully not from the dogs. Right. Shall we move on to my recommendation? So, my next recommendation on the nice list is Action Bronson, Only for Dolphins. I've been a huge fan.
That is not the list.
Year?
It did come out this year. I can't remember exactly when it came out this year. It's a fairly short album, so I think you'll like this, Hattie. It's a 35-minute album. You can get in, and you can get out.
I pick one EP, and I'll never live this down.
Well, in our reviews, you seem to always dog the hour 20-minute long.
No, my ideal is 10 tracks. Yeah, you're right.
Well, this is 12 tracks. It's 35 minutes long. Mostly sort of 2-minute songs. So there's barely any sketches. I don't think there's any sketches in this actually. But like I was saying earlier, this is the album that I was talking about, where I was like, it's a hip hop album, but it's mostly samples. In a time where you're just so used to having auto-tune in hip hop. The contemporary hip hop at the moment, to me, is like you get melodic. It's very melodic. You get a producer to do a beat for you, and these producers, but there's millions of them out there. You can always get a beat.
The production tends to do a lot of like heavy lifting with like modern mainstream rap as well. It can be a bit of a shame depending on your interpretation, but yeah.
I would say the vast majority of sort of the bigger songs that have come out, I would gravitate towards the production. For instance, You're Such a Hoe. You're such a fucking hoe. I would listen to the instrumental of that.
Oh, what, Kanye and Lil Pump?
Yeah, that's the one. That instrumental, I think, is what made that song big. I mean, the hook is good. But that instrumental is fucking god tier.
It's funny, Jack's got the graphic. Did Dennis deceive you?
Dude, your fucking list is all over the shop, man. You are not allowed to send me lists that aren't numbered for the rest of this podcast's life, man. I've looked back at your email, like, did I read it wrong? How did I get that so incorrect? And no, you've just given me a fucking splattering. You've just thrown fucking albums into a pile for me.
I'm sorry, mate. I thought you were just after the album covers, so I just sent them to you so that you can have the album covers available.
Hilarious.
You didn't send me the album covers either.
Well, let's hope that Dennis's third
I've got it now.
up.
I've sorted it now. I found your WhatsApp as well from today, and double checked it. I've got it. I've checked my list twice.
Okay, we good.
We good.
Look at that. Producing on the fly here. Like we're
That's
ready
it.
to roll with the punches. And Dennis is the man doing the punching.
Yeah. Sorry, man. So one of the other things I love about this album is the sort of the diversity of the different kinds of samples that they're in there. So you do have sort of traditional sort of boom bap, hip hop, but then you also have some songs which are like reggae. So it's like like a reggae beat or a dub beat, and then there's sort of
he's still rapping on it though.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think sort of reflects the New York scene, really, which is sort of
different
reflects,
cultures.
Even goes not only that, but even goes to sort of where hip hop came from in the first place. You know, hip hop came from essentially the dance halls. You know, it's an offshoot of sort of the Jamaican dance hall parties that were being done in the 70s and the 80s in New York, and a culture came out of that. So yeah, it's cool to see artists going back to that. And so yeah, for example, Goldeneye on this album has a traditionally sort of dub reggae beat to it, and then hip hop on top of it, and it sounds great. It sounds absolutely great. I think there's about two songs on here with that dub.
Yeah,
I love this album art as well.
Yeah,
I thought that while I was collecting it. Yeah, I meant to ask you. I was like, this is either a kid, or he's just got some like poster paints and done it himself. But no, full ratings for that. That's a quality album.
Two things I want to say. I mean, personally, I've not ever been a fan of Action Bronson. I will give this a listen now that you've put it in your list, but I've typically not gotten on with him, even though he's in like a general group of rappers or sounds that I would normally listen to, but I've not really ever found him that interesting. So you're saying this is one to check out. It might change my viewpoint.
It's one of his better ones, and I admit, he's very hit and miss.
Yeah, I think with him, I've just always I've not got it. Like I've heard people praise him and stuff, and I know he's like, he's kind of like a, like
he's a bit of a personality as well.
Yeah, he's almost like a meme, right, in the rap world, with obviously being a chef and shit, and he's always on like stuff on YouTube. But I've always just thought I really don't get it. He's just like he's just like a generic. I mean, he gets the comparison to like Ghostface a lot. I don't know if you guys have heard that, but like, he's almost like just in terms of the way he sounds, and I kind of think,
okay.
he's like,
it's like not as a person. They're
no, not as a person.
Fucking different.
No, as in just the way he sounds. Like if you listen to a track without knowing the artist, you might say, "Is this Ghostface?" And to me, I agree. He's always kind of felt like a bargain bin Ghostface.
I can hear the Ghostface comparison.
Yeah, I think it's just like vocal tone, not necessarily lyrics or anything else.
Yeah. Well, with the lyrics front, I do think that his lyrics are hit and miss, but there is one song, I think it's called 1924 something. It's like a freestyle. Let me
He's talking about dysentery.
No,
there's one
C112H16N2. No, it's 9-24-11. It's off of the Blue Chips 1 and 2 compilation album, so from 2015. So it's an old song. But this is one of my favorite. It's called 9-24-11. This is one of my favorite Action Bronson. This is what made me think like this guy's actually got talent. There's a couple of there's a great line in there that always gets me. Let me read it out to you guys. Let me just get the lyrics up here, if I can get the lyrics up. Something about like a girl and her wedding dress.
Just kind of, I think I've never been a massive Action Bronson fan as well, but looking through all the stuff that we got up here and looking through stuff to pick this list in the first place, I'm really pleased that I've now got like an extra 6 recommendations on top of that to go and listen to over the Christmas holidays. So that'll be good.
Just from this list,
we got a pretty diverse list so far in general, which is cool.
Yeah.
So different genres almost.
So just to finish off, and then we can move on. That line is, "Yo, my mind is locked up, my conscience rocked up in an alleyway with a fiend getting his cock sucked. Plus, she's wearing a wedding dress, a special day. She said she'd finally find a man to take her breath away."
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Good wordplay. So he's got good wordplay in his lyrics, and this I found that he's sort of fallen over in terms of he hasn't met his expectation on some of the other albums, but on this one, I think he shows up.
Okay. Maybe it's my time to get into Action Bronson.
Check it out.
Should we? Yeah. Jack.
Give us another one.
Sorry, yep. I was Googling dysentery. Yeah, so...
you don't want to keep getting ads for that, man. Do like an anonymous search.
All right, so my next pick is a very well-known artist, and I think that there's... obviously, she's an incredible wealth of talent that she's got. But this is kind of one of the albums where she's explored different sounds and areas that we haven't had before. So I've gone with Alicia Keys' semi-self-titled album, Alicia. She's got quite a lot of features on it for such a well-known artist and for such a pop artist. There's loads of people, including your boy Sampha.
Love Sampha.
On a real chilled out track as per everything he releases.
One of the most unique voices in music, that guy.
So. There's also an interesting, just before I talk about the album itself, a couple of the albums that I looked at this year. There's been loads and loads of artists that have released albums with tracks named after the feature. I'm not sure why, but this has got one called Jill Scott, featuring Jill Scott. There's I can't remember where it was, but there's a track called I Love Louis James or something, featuring Louis James on another one of the albums that I listened to this year.
This is when they send back their verse and you forgot to rename the file.
The file, yeah.
Submit it to the label there. Okay.
But yeah. Obviously Alicia Keys knows how to build a fucking song. There's just no denying it. Whatever kind of genre you listen to, she knows how to hit the flow of a track almost no one else. And yeah, stuff like the Wasted Energy with Diamond Platinums, it's got a bit of a dubby vibe. Her track with Sampha's got a really stripped back, chilled out vibe. She gets a bit jazzier on some other ones. Stuff like Gramercy Park and Authors of Forever have got a bit more of her classic kind of piano driven, moving chordally along with the vocals sort of structure and texture to it. All in all, though, it's a fucking 18-track album, hour and 6 minutes. Did not feel like that. Not feel like that at all. Yeah. But it's also there'll be tracks that you love from this. Or, there were tracks that I love from this. There were no tracks that I hated. It's at worst a medium album. And I think I side more on the side of Hattie with this, where if I see an 18-track album, most likely I'm going to want to rearrange it and I'm going to want to cut some tracks. But with this, I don't know where they'd come in after a few listens of it. It's, yeah, it fits.
I've just taken a quick listen at Wasted Energy. Another dub song. It's got that.
Yeah, it's sick.
Nice.
There's a couple of versions as well. There's one that's got a second feature, and it's slightly longer. I'm not entirely... I haven't cross-examined both of them. But the one that's got a cash page in as well is a slightly extended one.
Is that on the deluxe? Because the one I got only has 16. So is that a bonus track?
Okay. I only listened to the one that's got 18 versions, so I guess that is the deluxe. I didn't know, but yeah, maybe, it's a 16
maybe
otherwise.
Why. It's more lengthy than normal for
I would say it's worth getting the deluxe because A Beautiful Noise, which is the 17th track, is a banger as well.
It's another cool cover as well.
It is, yeah.
I like
so simple, but those pastel colors, yeah, love it. Also, sorry, Underdog, has my favorite. I don't know what it's probably got a name because it's so common in pop music, but it's got that kind of that chord progression where it's almost like D, so you'll hit the tonic on a high, you'll drop down to A, so you'll have the fifth but below it, and then you'll come back up to C. So you're ready to go back to the tonic for the next start of the cycle of the chords. But it's so uplifting to hear in choruses and stuff. Listen out for it in there when you get it. It's such an uplifting, lovely chord progression.
I listened to it. I was going to say I'm quite a bit of a Miguel fan as well, so I'd be interested to see the song with him. I don't know if that stuck out for you, but
yeah.
Miguel is another great singer.
The features are good. She's got a Khalid one as well. I think she's chosen them quite wisely.
Well,
yeah.
Cool.
All right, so we've gone through 2 already. Hattie, would you like to give us your final?
Yeah, my final best album or top album of the year. So it was actually hard to pick the final. There was a few that I went through, and like I said, when preparing for this episode, I found some others that could have pipped it to the post. But my third, I had to put it here because I probably listened to it the most, would be Thundercat. It Is What It Is. Again, just to kind of talk about the artist, Thundercat is just fucking genius, man. Again, I'm not, I'm sure you guys have experience with Thundercat yourselves, but kind of he just hits like a slew of genres that I love in terms of kind of, jazz, soul, hip hop, blended. I'm kind of thinking of like, other people in his wider circle, like Flying Lotus, Kamasi Washington, Kendrick, that whole kind of like, fusion of like modern day interpretations of that kind of genre space is just great. And this album, it was a slow burn for me because I really loved his last album, Drunk, and that was one of my favorites of the year it came out. And initially I thought this album was a bit of a step down in quality, so I kind of shelved it, but then later on came back to it and realized the genius in it. What's your guys' thoughts on Thundercat before I?
Yeah, this album slaps. Like,
you've heard it. Yeah.
He's good in general, but this is sick. This I like. I'm kind of dipping in and out of this episode because I'm trying to find you another gift because originally this was my gift to you. And you've scuffed it by sending me your list, and I was like, "Shit,
you should
I need to find
known,
something
though.
else."
You should have known.
Well, I should, but I was like, "There's so many albums that have come out this year, and like, there's so much that he could have picked." I was like, "What are the chances that it's in the top 3?" But
it's difficult.
It was.
That's fine. I mean, it's it like I said, it took a while to absorb just because it had such high expectations from his previous album. I think one thing that was interesting about this album is for him, I found it was quite very like mellow and low key and introspective almost. While I guess the Thundercat I'm more used to in terms of his solo stuff is definitely more, faster paced, frenetic, like, really kind of jazz heavy. I mean, what I found was interesting is that, I mean, his longtime collaborator, Flying Lotus, he also worked with on this. And I think Flying Lotus is a co-producer on pretty much every track. So it kind of seems like they're always working together. But this felt a lot different to kind of a lot of things they've done before. Like I said, just in terms of it being really, mellow and just kind of vibey. But, you just need to give it time, I think, and it once it sinks in, it's really rewarding. It's just, what he does so well, is he, he has the blend of like, being really funny with like the lyrics and like the topics he discusses, but then on top of that, you've just got like these, beautiful like falsetto vocals, and then obviously like the virtuoso element of like him as a bassist and the instrumentation around him. It's a really cool blend. I'm almost kind of like, he almost kind of makes me think of like him as like a modern day Frank Zappa, in terms of kind of blending the humor or the comedy aspects of music with kind of the proficiency of him as an instrumentalist. But yeah, putting it in the context of like kind of jazz, hip hop, it just perfectly fits what I want to hear most of the time.
I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say, to give him that sort of that props that he does have, like the chops, really to play, because I watched a YouTube video where he was basically breaking down Portrait of Tracy by Jaco Pastorius, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's a serious bassist. Like,
yeah, he's insane. He could play in any band, any genre, whether it would be like metal or funk or jazz, and he would have the skills to do it.
Absolutely.
That's not sacrificed to anything.
I did give this album a listen to earlier on in the year, but I think you're right. You do need to sit with it because I don't think I sat with it for long enough. I found it way too low key and way too mellow for my liking. Really,
it doesn't have the tracks that jump out in your face like I would say previous material is, but as a whole, when you're in the right mood, it's sick.
Yeah, I have obviously heard one of the singles, Dragon Ball Durag.
That was going to be my standout track pick, and the video for that is fucking hilarious as well.
Haven't seen the video yet, but I'll have to check that out.
I'm not going to spoil it. It's a hilarious video. But yeah, the lyrics on that track are a perfect example of him, just being hilarious.
I'll have to sit down with the lyrics. Right, you're all right for me to move on to my final recommendation?
Yeah, please do.
My final recommendation is None of Us Are Getting Out of This World Alive by The Streets. I loved this album. This album immediately went to my top 10 albums of all time when I heard it. Absolutely loved it from beginning to end on so many levels. First of all, the writing, it's a bit of a concept album. There's a bit of social commentary going on. In that it's sort of it's doing sort of this observation of where society is going in terms of sort of social media, people getting addicted to their phones, and us being more connected in terms of social media, but at the same time less connected. So there's some of that going on, which is cool. And then as well, the beats are amazing on all the way through, from beginning to end. Collaborations, some of my favorite collaborations are on here. For instance, one that I would say is a complete standout is on I Wish You Loved You As Much As You Love Him, featuring Green Tea Peng. I'm a huge fan of Green Tea Peng. I'm just a bit pissed off at her that she hasn't released an album yet. She's released singles here and there for the past couple of years, but she hasn't released a full-length album yet. And I'm so looking forward to when she drops an album, because I love her style. One of the honorable mentions, that I'm going to point out, was from Green Tea Peng from this year. So yeah, I Wish You Loved You As Much As You Loved Him. Absolutely great. Another one is My Phone Is Always in My Hand, which has a hilarious hook, which is My phone is always in my hand. If you think I'm ignoring you, I am.
Yeah, it does seem like a very, very relevant album that probably a lot of kids and myself should listen to.
Yeah,
is it
definitely?
Is it the whole of the Streets back together again? Because I know not all of them were as wanted to do that, because they obviously they've done like a final tour a couple of times now.
This is what I don't know, because I always thought The Streets was just like another moniker of Mike Skinner on his own.
That's what I thought as well, and that he would enlist people, but it's his band, right? Or his project. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Well, no, because he's had. So apparently at the moment, members lists Mike Skinner, past members Johnny Drum Machine, Kevin Mark Trail, and Leo the Lion.
Yeah,
both of them.
That would imply that this album would be him alone, but he's using the name, right? He's still.
Let me. Okay, no, it says current. Okay, further down it says current members. No Leo the Lion.
So it is a collaboration.
Other members, yeah.
And I guess it's probably one of those things, kind of like Gorillaz, where people come in over and over again, but they're not like official members.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
but that's a big thing. Then this is not only on your best of. This has gone to your like all-time list
of all time.
Dude, okay, I gotta listen. Action Bronson's going to the wayside when I'm going through your picks. Gonna have to check this out.
If you're going to take one album out of my list, I would say it's this. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I think mostly because I just love Mike Skinner's style. I love how different he is as a whole. I love how he does different hip hop. Even for like UK hip hop, he just does his own sort of style.
He is 100% the correct person to make an album about why people should not use their phones as much, because like his brand of humor and like just very plain tells you how it is, no fucking aroundness. He's just the dude for that. It's got to be, yeah.
Yeah, and it shows. The way he does his social commentary is that sort of dry, sort of straight up, almost sarcastic humor. It's great.
Cool.
Jack, would you like to give us your final pick?
Okay.
The nice list.
Last of our best albums here.
It probably won't be a surprise. For anyone that knows me, hopefully not for either of you two. So this ridiculous shit. Yeah, I think it's the Santa coat. It's just come to bits. Yeah, and I've had stuff in my eyes the entire time. It's so annoying. But anyway, yeah. Sorry, audio listeners who can't see me rubbing my eyes. Just hear me bitch
for
about
audio
it.
listeners, there are tears visible on stream right now.
You know what? Like, it would be really smart, and we're definitely going to do next year instead of this. It's just a fucking advent calendar. I was thinking, like, as they were popping up, I was like, this is like an advent calendar. Why did I make a fucking naughty and nice list thing that no one's going to see? Like, anyway.
If we had enough recommendations, we could have a different album every day.
Yeah. So, what I'm going to put up for my last album shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, because Protest the Hero released an album this year. Palimpest is an album that was born out of a huge amount of adversity. Rhodey, the vocalist, broke his voice in 2018. Took a year recovery. They finished tracking, I think, November 2019, and it didn't release until July this year because they had like studio movements, they had changes in personnel working with them, they had new children, so they could like be away from home for that long, so that delays the process. Like huge struggle to get the work out there. But the work that they came up with, it's really is like that kind of adversity breeds creativity sort of thing coming back again, because lyrically, when this may not have always been true since Arif hasn't written the lyrics for Protest for a few albums, lyrically, it tells a story. It's not too in your face with it. It's like discovering America and pioneering, and like a very dry take on a lot of what Americans see as kind of positive aspects of that, but can definitely be viewed as kind of colonialism and all the horrible parts that come with that. Fantastic lyrics. The guitars are always on point with Protest. Tim and Luke are just absolutely slapping it. There's no way I could ever see them releasing a poor album. They had Cam, who's been there. He's worked with them on production before, I think. In fact, let me find.
And bass, right?
Yeah, but he's now playing bass for them. He did so on Pacific Myth as well, which was their last release like 4 years ago, I think, or something like that. But yeah, he kills it. Mike, this is the first like full length released normally album that he's drummed on, and I think this is probably the fairest way to judge it, because I feel like Pacific Myth fell victim to the way they released it, so this is a kind of truer test of his style and how he's had time to sit with the songs and develop them properly, and he knocks it out of the park. Like, there's not one aspect of this album that I wouldn't say is kind of like up there with their best, and their best are definitely like top 3 albums for me. So this is like
just to sum up Protest, sorry, before jumping into you, Hattie. So they've got 3 band members who are founding: Rhodey Walker, Luke Hoskin, and Tim Miller. Lead vocals, lead guitar, and rhythm guitar. But Arif Mirabdol Baghi, god damn it,
Mirabdol Baghi, I believe.
Yeah, nice.
Mirabdol Baghi, the bassist, left in 2014.
He was also the lyricist for the first couple albums.
And Cam McClellan took over as a session musician, and then another guy as a session bassist, and Eric Gonzalez as a touring bassist. But you're saying Cam McClellan is now officially a band member?
Well, that's what it looks like. I don't know. He's been around them forever. He's been like helping them with production and stuff.
Yeah.
So I assume he's
and
assumed
Mo Carlson
that
and
role.
Mike Earraddy is the new drummer. Yeah, go ahead, Hattie.
I just want to throw in my 2 cents because for all people that know me as well, I'm hugely into protest, on a similar level to Jack. And this album would definitely be an honorable mention. So shout out, almost like Jack including in your list I'm glad because, it didn't get on mine, but it was a great album. Like my expectations weren't necessarily like high, especially with things like kind of Rhodey's vocals, the worry in terms of how effective his voice, but he knocked it out of the park. Knocked it out of the park.
He built a studio in his basement so that he didn't have to leave his wife with his newborn child for weeks on end to record this album specifically. The amount of work they put in to get this album out is ludicrous. He's
a genuinely like good guy, right? You just get the vibe from this band that they actually like give a shit about each other and they're actually like good people. Especially when we talk about like the kind of business models in terms of what they've done with the Indiegogo. They're just like a great band to support, and the music's really good. So funnily enough, this wasn't my favorite album, even though they're one of my favorite like metal bands. This wasn't my favorite metal album of the year, but I would probably say it was my second favorite.
What was your favorite metal album? While we're on it.
I'm not going to say because it's a gift.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the interesting is, like I said, this band would go down as one of my favorite metal bands of all time. But there was someone else that pipped them to the post, even though this album was very good.
That would be interesting. I can't wait to be looking at my list of stuff to check out and hear what the gifts are. It's not AC/DC Power Up by any chance, because they did release an album this year.
It's actually the remastered collection of their entire discography.
I debated putting it up just to see you absolutely mold with
a troll pick, and it's just like you do a clip of my reaction.
Yeah, I almost double layered the graphic so I could put AC/DC up first and then replace it with Protest.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, like a fake out. Yeah.
I feel like I've kind of undersold the album because of how many times me and Hattie have spoken about Protest. I don't know what else to say about it, but it really captures that kind of pioneering spirit musically, and it tells those stories so convincingly and from a fresh perspective. I really just love it.
They do something interesting and unique within like the kind of modern like progressive metal sound as well. They don't adhere to any kind of like kind of I guess like like obviously the hot thing is kind of for a long time being like kind of like genty sounds, and they just do something completely different but still sound like they fit in. Yeah, which is great
within contemporary metal.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they're different to their peers, but they're not out of place. I guess that's what I want to put.
I haven't heard a protest album since Scurrilous, actually, admittedly, just because of what was going on with the band members. Because I really liked Arif so much that when he left, I was like, oh no.
It was a big loss, and on the lyrical front, they did lose out for a while. But I'm with Jack as well on this album. The lyrics were Rhodey's best effort so far. Yeah, but Arif's lyrics were one of the best things about him back in the day.
Yeah, it's insane that someone. Like he's obviously he was a fantastic bass player as well, but like I don't know what he's doing now. I know he went in did a kind of 3-man play that was musical or something like that, and he was part of a jazz group for a while. But like knowing that there's someone out there with that talent specifically for being in a band and like giving amazing bass lines to metal, which is something that it always needs more of. Bass always gets like railroaded in metal for just hitting the tonics, and delivering lyrics in a genre where like concept albums and concept songs can make or break an artist's like impact. He's missed sorely.
Cool. Should we do the next section?
Next section is our naughty list.
Okay, so we're doing best tracks after.
Because let's end on a high. Let's not end.
We've got the gifts at the end. That's fine. Letdowns now is good. It's fine.
Oh, yeah. Shall we do naughty list and then favorite tracks and then gifts?
I was thinking to do the best tracks now, just so we can get them out of the way.
Oh yeah, sure. Do you wanna kick off?
Yeah. So I'll just be really brief and just rattle my my top 3 tracks are now. So for this section, for our listeners, we're just going to say 3 tracks, standout tracks that aren't included on the best albums that we've already talked about. So my top 3 standout tracks. Number 1, Billie Eilish, My Future. I'm a fan of Billie Eilish in general. I think what she does is like a very mainstream pop artist is so like forward thinking, and she's just like a great, just got a great sounding voice and style. But this track came out and as a standalone single, I believe, and it's completely different to anything else I've heard from her. It's kind of like, it's like a kind of dreamy, mellow, almost, it kind of feels like a jazz standard song, which is completely alien to the kind of like progressive, like electronic kind of approach she has to like pop music. But it's great, and she's just like flexing her like vocal chops again, like she was like some traditional jazz singer or something, which is sick. So definitely check that one out. My second track, Anderson .Paak, Lockdown. Again, I love Anderson .Paak. This single came out at the right time. This came out in the peak of like everything going on with like Black Lives Matter and the protests in America regarding the killing of George Floyd, and he just poignantly sums up all the issues that were going on this year. His lyrics address like police brutality, racism, the pandemic, disinformation in the media. It just feels like a song that represents a lot of what's happened this year, especially with regard to America. Third track this is one of the new ones that I've discovered, and this album would have been an honorable mention, but there's an artist called Sevdelisa, and the track is Dormant. So like I said, this is a new find, but I fucking love this song and this album. Say anyone, if you're a fan of FKA Twigs or Portishead, just thinking like a trip hop kind of vibe, electronic, it's a perfect kind of modern track that kind of fits into that mold. Again, just kind of beautiful vocals that kind of induced goosebumps, but a great instrumental underneath that's kind of dark, eerie, and so atmospheric. So yeah, those are my top 3.
I forgot about that Anderson .Paak track.
I loved it, and a great video as well.
Yeah.
I love that when you shared it back in the summer.
Cool. That's my top 3.
Okay, I'll jump in with my top 3. So something we didn't get to during our System of a Down tier list, which is the new System of a Down single that came out, Genocidal Humanoids by System of a Down single that came out. Really liked it.
I haven't heard it yet.
We did a System of a Down tier list. You didn't hear it.
I know. I'm sorry. I was busy going through the back catalogue. I will listen to it. If you're putting it up here, I'll listen to it.
It was. I thought it was sort of System of a Down going back to form. You still have Darren doing quite a lot of singing on both of the singles that came out, but it's not as bad as Hypnotize and Mesmerize. So these are not Lost in Hollywood songs at all.
Not as bad in like he's practiced, or not as bad as like it doesn't happen as much.
It happens a lot.
He sounds better on the track.
I would say it's mixed a little better, so it sounds a little better.
Okay, yeah.
The next recommendation I would say is Ghost Town by Green Tea Peng. I heard this on Six Music. I think I heard it on the Iggy Pop show, Iggy Confidential or Six Music Friday nights at 7, I think, and absolutely loved it. I just had to get Shazam up. What is this? Who is this person? This is it's like sort of grimy, sort of dubby, like hip hop. But at the same time, it's just sort of chilled out. It's a mixture of so many different genres. It's just such a melting pot of a track. And
when did you say you discovered this?
This
is recent-ish.
I think it was in the summer, late summer, maybe August-ish, around then.
It's insane that Iggy Pop does a radio show now.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
He's been doing it for
I
years.
fucking love Iggy Pop.
His Iggy Pop Confidential is amazing. I would highly recommend it. And what's your third? The last recommendation, I suppose, isn't so much a track, but an album, which is
Hey! What the fuck?
Honorable mentions. It is kind of a track because it's a concept album. So it's Man the Moon 3
This is cheeky as fuck. I
had to sneak something in there. Yeah, apologies.
Ripping me for an EP.
I was just about to say, says the man who's got a 17-minute EP on his top 3 albums.
Once you listen to it, you'll know why. But yeah, all right, let's hear this bullshittery.
Yeah, Man on the Moon 3, absolutely loved it. I haven't heard much of Man on the Moon 1 and 2. I wasn't actually much of a Kid Cudi fan. Huge fan of Day and Night, but
that is a banger.
Absolute banger. But in terms of the actual albums, not so keen on it, which I guess is sort of saying something about this album, that, you know, as someone who's not the biggest Kid Cudi fan, to have absolutely loved it, regardless of having heard the other albums. It's a great album. So go ahead.
Can I just make this clear? So for our top 3 tracks presentation, you're nominating Kid Cudi's whole album, just to make sure that we're 100% clear on this.
It's a concept album, so
you're considering it to be
all the way through. So I'm trying. I'm digging myself a hole here, but I'm going for the caveats.
You've both fucked up, Eddie. You're both glass houses right now, throwing stones at each other.
I think he's done a much worse. But in
Bro, I know 17-minute songs. You've nominated that for a fucking album. How many tracks is it?
I'm pretty sure it's like 8 tracks. So so track wise, it's
8
decent. The tracks are just short.
Maybe.
No, but honestly, when
I don't really care.
But with mine, when you listen to it, you'll know why. I think this is outrageous by Dennis. But anyway, when we do the playlist, I'm going to force you to pick one fucking track.
Oh yeah, sure. I definitely will. Jack, give us your honorable mentions.
Actually, yeah. To be fair, yeah. If I've had to narrow down my my 3 per album choices for the playlist to 1, I feel like Dennis should as well. Okay, so I almost put this in my albums, but then because it's really, really short and not a complete album, I chose something else. But Zico, a K-pop artist, released an album this year called Random Box. And I almost picked Summer Hate for my track, but I went with No You Can't in the end. They're both, like, obviously, he is a popular K-pop artist, so his production is god tier, and like there's just no 2 ways about it. The song sounds that they've chosen are clean as fuck, and it's lovely. I love that Zico is kind of less saying less commercial for K-pop almost seems like a kind of what's the word we have, like it's like a juxtaposition, but that's not the word I meant.
Oxymoronic.
Yeah, an oxymoron. Yeah. But he's a lot less kind of commercial than a lot of the other artists. Summer Hate is a massive track. No You Can't is also another massive track. The album, if you can call it that, isn't huge in terms of exploring different genres, but any of them I could have picked and put on here quite happily. It was just banging. My second track is from a proper full-length album by Grown Up People. It could have featured on my top 3, and it did. It did for a little while until I kind of reshuffled some things. The Strokes, Eternal Summer, from the new Abnormal.
I've heard it's good.
It is very good. It's 9 tracks as well, so you'll like it, Hattie.
The sole criteria for my musical taste.
I've chosen Eternal Summer. It's the longest track on the album. I think all of the tracks on the album share a lot of similar qualities, and I feel with this one you get most of it. You get a really good vibe of the album. So with the mind of putting it on a playlist, if you like this, you'll like the album. It's kind of why I settled on this.
It sums it up well, yeah.
But it could have been like a whole load from that album. It's also like their first album for like 4 to 6 years. I don't remember how long, but it's been a long ass time. And yeah, they've come back strong. My final track is from Tower of Power. I don't know if you remember I was saying earlier in a podcast a few weeks back. I've really got into Tower of Power this year. Someone on my course played a Tower of Power. He's a drummer. He played a Tower of Power song with him doing the drums when we did some performances to each other, and it was fucking banging. I've really got into them since then. They released an album called Step Up, and I've gone for the titular track Step Up as my last one for this, mainly because when it came out, I can't remember when it was in the year. Let me just have a quick cheeky Google.
Fastest finger first. March 20th, my birthday.
So it came out. That's why I don't remember it then. Nothing important. It came out in March, and I remember listening to it and being like, it's pretty good, like it wasn't the most thrilling summer and all that sort of stuff. So like, cool. It got me through it. Then coming back to it later on in the year when I was like, this year's fucked and everything sucks and like I hate it. Getting that like that old school funk, that party vibe, the horns, everything coming in. I was ready for it to come and save me from 2020. So through appreciation mostly, it's made my list. I also want to say though, Dua Lipa, I can't remember how to say her name. Almost landed with one of her tracks on here instead of Step Up. I really liked her album when
Still
I went and
keeping
listened to
the
it.
funk vibe.
Yeah, that was real funky.
I also find it funny when we talk about tracks. You talk about the track that's making you escape the bullshit, and for me, mine was like Anderson .Paak being like, "No, let's talk about this. Let's have this conversation." It's completely different approaches, but still kind of.
Oh yeah, like lyrically, obviously, "Step Up" is about stepping up. So like, if you look into it, it is it's kind of like that Frank Ocean quote where he's like, when you're happy, you understand the music. When you're sad, you understand the lyrics.
That's a cool quote.
Yeah.
Cool.
Should we move on to our naughty list for this year?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Right. Hattie, give us your first naughty album.
Okay, let me see. Cool. So this is.
Sorry, I want a sound clip of Dennis saying "naughty" as my ringtone.
Yeah. So I guess we talked about this before going live, but I don't know if you guys had the same approach, but kind of with my naughty albums, they were kind of albums that I was expecting good things based on either my enjoyment of the artist or the hype behind them, and they just shit the bed in some ways. So I don't know if you guys have the same thing, but
it's not pure hate, but like it's led down. Yeah,
exactly. Both these artists I like to varying degrees. Yeah. So my first album would be Grimes' Miss Anthropocene, which I believe came quite early in the year. So yeah, Grimes, I really like her. I think she's cool. She does something different. Again, quite like kind of has like a weird twist on like what would normally be a commercial sound, and she's just a bit weird, and that's cool. And especially her last album, Art Angels, which I thought was really good. But this was just a mess, man. This album was, I can't believe that I'm saying about such like an experimental weird artist that the album was a boring and a slog to get through. I mean, just to summarize it, it's kind of most of the tracks sounded the same, instrumentally. It was just every track was washed with like so much reverb that you couldn't really pinpoint any element and focus on it. Her vocal melodies were quite weak, and it was unmemorable. It just felt like a B-sides album that kind of, I don't think she's released an album for a few years now, and it's kind of like you've taken this time, this is what you come up with. It was a big disappointment. Like I said, from someone who I usually think does something different and is cool with most of the efforts she releases. I don't know what you guys' thoughts on Grimes.
Not to jump into to defend her hugely necessarily, but she has had a child as well, hasn't she? In that time,
I believe this came out before that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't really follow, so I couldn't.
Yeah, let me double check. I'm sure. Yeah, so this album came out February, so it was really early in the year, earlier than any of my favorite albums. But I don't know the timelines, but I guess it's just it's for me it's like an artist that I thought's done a lot of cool things. You wait a long time with no real kind of not really being able to keep up with them much. Yeah, Art Angels came out 2015, so this is a 5-year wait between albums, right? And it's kind of it needs to hit if you have that wait. If it's like, oh, you released an album last year and this one's not that great, fine, I can maybe pass it by. But 5 years,
quite a long time. So one of my albums on my naughty list, another disappointment as well. Insomnia, which is a collaboration between Skepta, Chip, and Young Ads. Now, initially, I saw those three on the billing, and I was like, "Oh hell yeah!" I'm not so much a fan of Young Ads, but obviously Skepta, legend, Chip, legend. So I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be epic." And I listened to it, and there really is only one song on the album which isn't boring. I just thought the lyrics on the album were disappointing and boring, really. As a whole, there's no, say a Golden Brown track 2, decent. I think it was a single that was released with the album, and then the rest of it just kind of falls flat. The rest of it is just kind of forgettable, which this is Chip and Skepta.
Yeah, I was going to say I haven't listened to this, but I'm a Skepta fan as well. It kind of when with collaboration albums, it feels even worse. Like say if you've got 2 or 3 artists that you do like, it's almost like the expectations even higher. So in ways that might be unfair as a listener. But if you get a disappointment with 2 people or more that you really like, it's like how could this have happened?
Yeah, yeah, and for the lyrics to be boring as well. Especially after Skepta won a freaking Mercury Prize a couple of years ago with Konnichiwa, is it?
I would say that's one of the most different grime albums there's ever been, though. Like, I think he was worthy of that, and I agree that this was a long way down below that, below his potential.
So you've heard it as well?
I have.
Was it? Did you see my list and think, oh, let me actually check this out? Because I didn't put it in any order, so it could have been one of my favorites.
I was hoping for a Jack reaction, like a angry / shocked. I didn't get it.
Well, I'm actually just gonna steal the wheel of the podcast for a second to reveal that my naughty list also includes Skepta, Chip, and Young Ads Insomnia.
What?
I saw that Dennis had it, and I already had it on mine. I saw that Dennis had it, and I debated taking it off, but it was such a disappointment. The bar was so high. Like again, I'm not as much a Young Ads fan as Chip and Skep, but the goddamn bar was so high for this album, and I almost feel like I liked it slightly more than Dennis, because I would say Golden Brown is a banger. Obviously, Main's also, I would say, is a good track. The other tracks, they'll have moments of glory, but every single track is just like it's got a huge bit where it's just not as good. The quality drops, and for an entire album to have that over and over again.
Saint-Tropez with that MIA sample. It's had so much potential, but then like there's not much to it other than like you said, there's that thing, that one thing which is like, oh, this is gonna be epic, and then it just disappoints.
The first bit of rapping in Mic Check was fucking dope. I was ready for that, and then it just downhill from there. Like, there's so many examples you can draw from that album of that. What were you saying, Hattie?
I said I think you just have to be on the A game if you're doing like a collaboration album. I think just because the expectation is going to be there.
I think one of the bits they handled the best is passing off between each other and hitting their different styles. I thought that was handled quite well. It was just the the actual content and what they're saying, and the movement between the sections. I don't know. Yeah, it was a lot of work. You could tell they'd worked for a while to put it together, but it didn't hit like it should have.
Fell flat,
yeah.
Alrighty, I kind of I haven't heard it. I'm kind of like, part of me is kind of like I want to listen to it out of morbid curiosity because it's got both your list, but then at the same time I'm kind of like, well, I know I'm going to be wasting an hour if you're both in the same boat.
It's only 35 minutes.
Okay.
Really?
Well, it's passing my tick for album length,
dude. It felt longer than that.
It feels a lot longer than that. Yeah.
Holy fuck!
Okay,
yeah.
I will take the time to, like I said, have that curious listen at least a few tracks in.
Hattie, give us another album to go on your naughty list.
Yeah. So my final letdown album is Jay Electronica's A Written Testimony. As far as I'm aware, was another quite early year release, or maybe summer. Let me double check.
From Top Dog, is this?
No. No, I think he's on Jay-Z's label.
Oh, is he?
I think Rock Nation. Yeah. Which is, there's a specific reason to mention that actually. But yeah, so this album came out March 2020, so another early one. But yeah, so key thing, I wouldn't say I was like going into this as a Jay Electronica fan as I was like a Grimes fan with my other letdown. But this guy has been like one of the most hyped rappers for a long time. He's released tracks that have delivered with like top tier bars like Exhibit A, Exhibit C. He's just been so hyped in like the industry as like the rapper that's going to save the world by just being an absolute crazy lyricist, which he is. I've got nothing against like his ability on this album, but listen to this, right? So this is his debut album, right? He's been active for 13 years up to this point, and all that we've got, I believe, is like a mixtape and a handful of singles. At 13 years, features as well, but pretty much on every.
I was gonna say, has he just been featuring in ghostwriting then, or like collaborating ghostwriting?
Yeah, I would assume presumably he's done some ghostwriting, but in terms of like him putting out consistent work, it's been nada. It's been the odd track, and whenever something has been released, it's like you've found like the fucking gold bullion in the fucking field. So I've got no problem with it, him as a lyricist. My reason for being hyped at this has been like, okay, you're going to deliver because I know that you've got the skills. But this, like I said, 13 years into his career, debut album, and it just feels unfinished. It feels like he didn't want to put it out. So for context, so he's signed to Rock Nation, and Jay-Z, I think he features on every track. So it's essentially, well, the way I described it, right? This is like the budget version of Watch the Throne. This album is Watch the Toilet Seat. Okay? So this album, kind of like I said, Jay-Z raps more than Jay Electronica. You've got your boss doing more verses than you on this fucking album. What it sounds like, right, is that Jay Electronica had done a few little tracks. They were shelved. He didn't do anything with them. And then Jay-Z's like, right, look, I'm paying you. You need to release something to make it back. He's right. I'm going to finish it for you. Like you guys need to listen to this to kind of get what I'm saying, because like I said, but the ability's there, but it's all over the place. Even with the production, there's no consistency. There's kind of like there's like heavy like trappy production, but there's also kind of like kind of sample based production. I know that works sometimes, but here just with even like the mixing and the mastering, it just feels like there's no cohesion, and it's and the main artist, the featured artist, is only there half the time. It's a big disappointment.
Sounds like a big disappointment. Sounds like it's the Cyberpunk 2077 of albums.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's stuff I like on here, but again, to wait 13 years for a debut album, this ain't it. This ain't it, Chief.
Oh dear. I hope he has better luck with his next album.
Right, in 2030.
Yeah. You all right for me to move on?
Yeah, do it.
My next disappointment, and I'm not sure how you guys are going to feel about this, RTJ4 by Run the Jewels. Now, I was so looking forward to this. It came out. It was around the time that lockdown started, right?
I was going to say mysteriously absent from our lists because I know that we all fuck with.
Oh yeah. I actually went back to listen to Run the Jewels 1 to 3 again, just to remind myself like what these guys are capable of.
Why do I like these people?
Well, because I actually did like a little tier list as well. Because I was like, okay, the last albums are pretty good, but I haven't actually sat down and actually like.
Yeah, well, RTJ2 would probably be in my like top of the year it came out. That one in particular, I love that album.
That's the thing. Every single one of those albums, the year they came out, would have been on my top list. This, no. There are only 3 songs on this album that I could identify that sounds like old RTJ. Holy Calamafuck, Just, featuring Zach De La Rocca, and I will say, fucking Zach De La Rocca's verse in this is amazing.
He basically is the honorary third member, right?
Yeah. And he also has like a little hook as well. I think it's in Just, where he's like, look at all these slave masters something on your dollar or something. Oh crap, I can't remember. I've ruined
It's
it.
like living on your dollar or something.
Yeah.
Is it Zach De La Rocca?
There was
Rocha?
I've
always
said Rocha, but like now hearing you say it, I'm like, have I been wrong my whole life?
Let's say Mr. Rage Man.
Mr. Rage Man, because I don't know if I've been saying
Z-Dog.
it just Rocker. It's one of those that I've read more than I've said.
Yeah, 100%.
And the last one is Pulling the Pin. Pulling the Pin. Those 3 tracks. That is what I expected from RTJ. But this is this is like a 12. How many tracks is there?
I think it's 11. I've got it up here.
Yeah, and 3 out of 11 for Run the Jewels.
Yeah, I'm kind of. Yeah, I see where you're coming from, because this was a consideration for where does this album fit for me. It's kind of like I listened and I remember liking it, but I don't remember it being memorable. Me wanted to come back to it, which again is odd because of how much I fuck with Killer Mike and LP. I do need to give it a listen. I think the reason why I didn't include it in my list anywhere is because I just needed to listen to it more before I formed an opinion. But it shouldn't have been that I dismissed it and didn't re-listen. There must have been something wrong to prevent that from it being like a big list for me this year. So I see where you're coming from.
So you're saying you probably just didn't pay as much attention to it as you should have.
Yes. I'm not going to do it the justice and have a definitive opinion, because I just need to listen to it more. But if it was really good, I'm sure I would have played it lots.
That's my problem in that this isn't a bad album. This is an okay album, but the bar is set so high for Run the Jewels.
Yeah,
that it's disappointing when they release an okay album.
Yes, when they've released, potential album of the years for the years that they came out, you shouldn't be having this conversation. Yeah. Jack?
I also want to go back and say that Chip was the MVP of Insomnia. Not really a hot take, just you've mentioned it there. I didn't really talk about him when we were talking about the album.
I highly rate Chip.
I feel like if you isolate Chip's verses and just give me that album, I'd fucking bang it. I feel like
I would have been.
Is Young Ad's another MC? Because I know the other two, but I don't know Young Ad. He's another MC. Yeah, okay.
So my final one, I'm not sure what experience you'll have. I feel like I've recommended it as a band for one of you, maybe both of you, but Deerhoof and their album Future Teenage Cave Artists this year. They are a very alternative kind of rock band. Lots of where you can make a lot of Bjork comparisons probably with the singer, but they're very indie. They're very DIY. They'll fuck around with song structures, keys, tones. They'll put really abrasive sounds in the music, really, really experimental, really, really good. Usually, I felt like they fell flat of what I was hoping for with this album. Again, I love them as an artist. I would never put them on a list of absolute avoids or utter, this is terrible. But I think they're at their best when they rely a bit more on the guitar carrying the melodic information of the track. And they kind of really layer that with the vocals, and it's a bit poppier than this album is generally. So for me, this was a bit of a letdown just compared to their other stuff. I would say if anybody hasn't listened to them, can't find their. Here. Yeah, if anyone hasn't listened to them, they also released. They released an EP that I haven't listened to. Yeah, but their last release a few years ago, Mountain Moves, is an absolutely incredible album.
I was just going to say, I was taking a look at the discography on Wikipedia, and I was probably getting the same vibe that you two got when you saw King Gizzard's.
Oh yeah. You can go deep.
Down 15.
You can go deep. So I would say Breakup Song, Mountain Moves, probably my favorite. Maybe I'm gonna leave it at that. If you want to explore. But
I'll hit you up afterwards for.
Yeah, they're a band where like I go to them. It's almost like too much of a good thing with this album, you know. Like I go to them for that like alternativeness and that like breaking the musical rules and stuff. But I just didn't vibe with this album as much as I wanted to.
Future Teenage Cave Artist is the album you're on about, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. I'll check out Mountain Moves though. See how alternative these guys are. So, any final words or any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's an interesting list. I think, like I said, just looking at everything, at least looking at the nice list, like I said, I think there's a good kind of diverse selection of genres. I think that would be able to pull a cool bunch of tracks off that. And it's, like I said, it's funny as well that you both have the same naughty pick, which is fun.
Yeah.
Of all the albums that we could have listened to, right?
Yeah, I initially was hoping that album would actually be decent. It'll be like one of my recommendations to you, Jack, because I know you're into grime. But yeah, no, so disappointed with it.
Yeah, it was the same. When I listened to it, I was like, I had high expectations, and then it was immediately something that I thought of when we were talking about albums that didn't hit the mark that they should have.
Yes, went straight to that list. Easy pick. So
what we got next?
Next section is going to be gifts. So we're each going to present one of the others with a recommended album based on their musical tastes.
Right. This is specifically tailored. I guess that's the key thing. But I would say for my recommendations, they're also honourable mentions, best of the year. But I've specifically picked ones that I know I think you guys would like. I don't know if you guys have the same.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm not gonna recommend albums to you guys that I didn't enjoy myself.
So I have a like fucking list.
Mine could be album 4 and 5 on my top.
I have a full on list because Hattie took my recommendation, and
what was it? Was it
Thundercat? It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing else I listened to is as good for Hattie as the Thundercat is. So I've got a list of stuff you should check out.
I was going to say probably the only thing you could have done worse is if, like, say, Kendrick released and you were like, I'm going to gift him a Kendrick album. I wonder if he's listened to it. Or something like that.
So we're going to do this in the order of the person receiving it.
So I'm receiving
first.
Yes.
So I'll
however bad that sounds.
No, I want that as my I want that soundbite as my ringtone.
Stop clipping me.
You could splice them together. Naughty. Yeah. I'm receiving first.
Okay. Come on, guys. Bestow upon me. What should I listen? What are you presenting me?
I have cards here, so I printed out the actual album cover. So my recommendation to you, I've actually got both of them right here.
Oh shit!
My recommendation to you is Spilligion. Oh crap! I might have to. That's not working, is it? Let me turn off this video, and you guys can see my awful room.
That was brilliant. I was like, he's brought the production value up here, but no.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to fiddle around. Whoops! Oh no! How do I stop it? How do I turn it off?
Just go into the settings, background and filters.
Okay, you've now swapped yourself.
I have. Oh crap! I can't turn it off.
Just go Zoom settings, background and filters, and then just select none.
Oh yeah, I had to scroll up.
God damn!
There we go. We're there in the end. Okay. Spilligion.
Dude, you're an engineer. You should know how to do this.
I should know how to do this. Spilligion by Spillage Village.
Dude, that album cover is sick.
There is so much going on this album cover. It's sort of Mary and Jesus tableau and old bears all around. So this is Spillage Village is a bit of a collaboration group that's going on within Dreamville. So you're going to get a lot of JID on this. There's a whole load of JID.
You know me well.
And in general, this is just a chance for a bunch of Dreamville artists to just come on and spit.
This kind of sounds like almost like the return of the Revenge of the Dreamers. You know that they did a collaboration album with everyone on the label. It kind of sounds like that. Which I loved. I loved that album, the newest one they did.
Fair play. So I think you'll like this. It's got religious themes in it. because obviously it's called Spilligion. So...
Dude, I thought this was a metal album looking at that cover.
Same.
I was like, this is going to be some black metal. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh, he does know I'm not really into that kind of metal, doesn't he? But yeah, you tell me it's a rap album with Dreamville. I don't know what to think.
As if we're gonna give you some Norwegian black metal.
Yeah.
No, I got a lot of Outcast vibes from this.
Okay.
Standout tracks I would recommend to you would be Baptize. The hook on that song. Oh, it's so good. This is such a fun album. It's not so serious. Don't take it too seriously. It's just fun.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I liked about the Dreamville, the actual collaboration they did, the Revenge of the Dreamers, was that it was fun and you kind of had the vibe that they were kind of like recording at the same time. So if this album has that same kind of atmosphere, it's not just like I'll copy and paste in verses or whatever, then I'm sure I'll dig it.
Yeah, and Judas is another one I really enjoyed because it's a little bit, the beat is a bit lo-fi. It sounds a bit rough and ready, and it's got Chance the Rapper on it. So yeah, check out those two tracks.
One of the biggest letdown artists in recent years, but I'll still listen to it.
Fair play.
Chance.
Really, I still need to get into him properly.
Dude, he could again just
his
not to diverge, but what's that?
His OG album, insane. Coloring Book was a big step down. Yeah, that's
Acid Rap was one of the best mixtapes of all time, and since then, anyway.
Jack, give us Hattie's Gift album.
Okay, so as you know, Hattie fucked it and spoiled Christmas. So,
how dare me enjoy an album from an artist that you know that I listen to?
So what I have is a list of 6 albums that came out this year from artists that I know you're interested in. And I'm going to take my pot luck of which ones you have or haven't listened to, because nothing is safe anymore, apparently. So, number 1, Paul McCartney has released McCartney 3.
Yeah.
To hit you on that Beatles vibe. CeeLo Green has released CeeLo is Thomas Calloway. Wiley has released The Godfather 3. Flatbush Zombies have released Now More Than Ever.
Is that an album? Is that an album?
Rather than an EP.
Oh, it's an EP, the Flatbush Zombies one.
I mean, I'll double check for you.
Okay, just because I wasn't aware of them releasing an album this year. But they
could
did
be a track, to be fair.
Okay, I was just going to say, because one I was almost going to put in my best tracks was a track they did called Afterlife with James Blake producing, which is fucking sick. But yeah.
Glass Animals have released Dreamland this year, and Everything have released Reanimator.
Okay, I dislike Everything. So that's definitely not going to be a gift.
I remember us talking about him. I couldn't remember which way you went.
Yeah, that's not the one I'm going to pick. I'm leaning towards McCartney or the Flatbush if it's an actual project.
It's an EP. It's a full EP.
Oh, it's an EP. Okay. Yeah.
Judging by today, makes it an album. So,
I guess
this man nominates a Kid Cudi album for a track of the year.
This is 20 minutes, mate. This is basically a double album by your standards. Like, you may as well block out an entire day to listen to this.
I can't believe the angriest point that I've got is receiving a gift from you. This is why I don't like gifts. I need to opt out of Christmas.
Yeah. So, I was originally, not originally. My secondary choice immediately once you'd done it was to recommend the Dua Lipa album to you, because I think you will actually like it. So if you want a genuine recommendation, give that one listen, see how you feel about it.
Yeah.
I wanted the Lamb of God one to be your recommendation for you, to give some like old school throwback vibes, but I don't think this is the album. Maybe I need to listen to it more, but it didn't hit me like their older stuff did. Okay.
All right. So Dua Lipa is your official gift, yeah?
Yeah, but definitely check out the others. Like of an album you should listen to is Wiley. An album that you'll probably enjoy.
The thing
Flatbush, CeeLo.
I was going to say the thing is with Wiley, is that like I really did like The Godfather, the first one. I was like really impressed.
Everyone
with
did.
It. But yeah, it was fucking sick, right? But like, he's just wilding out on Twitter and just being an absolute dickhead. I kind of feel like
that's why like you can't follow grime people on Twitter or social media, dude. Like it's never a good move.
Yeah, it's tarnished my. I mean, I know he's always like, you know, up for a beef and talking shit, but like, yeah, what I've seen recently has just soured my, you know, image.
You know, his record label is called Wiley Records.
Right. Like, yeah, definitely a narcissist.
Yeah, well, you're not coming to him for woke cerebral shit, you know.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
So next person to gift is me, I think. So
yes, even though you've now reordered yourself in the graphic, I've dealt with it.
I'm so sorry. So
that's fine.
Yeah, what do you guys have? Hattie, what do you have? What is your gift album?
Okay, yeah. So just to bring back to an earlier conversation, so my gift album for you is also my favorite metal album of the year, more than Protest, and it's an album by a band called Caligula's Horse. The album is Rise Radiant. So I'll share you it later in case you forget. But let me actually do this professionally and get rid of my background so I can show you the cover. 1 second.
No.
That's the album. Okay, so Caligula's Horse, Rise Radiant. So yeah, like I said, it was my favorite album of the year. You know, I thought this would be a cool one to recommend to you because it kind of like to me it kind of encapsulates what I like in modern metal, and I think that you're going to also gravitate towards it. You know, so it's like I said, it's progressive. The singer's awesome. You know, has like a melodic and powerful voice. There's awesome like syncopated guitar work, great guitar solos. You know, it harkens, it harkens back to a kind of almost like a classic metal sound, but kind of reinterpreted with like a modern production style. And the other thing is, you know, again, it's a running joke, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's I think it's 8 tracks long, short but sweet. Everything sticks in your head, and it's just powerful. It makes you, you know, it's that kind of like you want to pump your fist at the top of a mountain. That I think is the kind of sound that you would like as much as me.
So, yeah, it's 10 songs long, 56 minutes, but
I think there's 2 bonus tracks. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It is it. Yeah. So the bonus is with an extra 2, but there's a couple of long songs on this. So there's a 7-minute and a 10-minute, which like I said,
it's quite proggy. But yeah, the longer tracks are epic. They go through so many different kind of you know, arcs in, you know, musical themes, and yeah.
I just took a quick listen at Salt, and those drums at the beginning. Oh my god! Like the drums with the bass on top.
Save it for an all-in-one listen. Trust me, you want to consume all in one. You won't regret it. I think I was almost considering it for you, Jack, as well. But something in the back of my mind made me think that I'd spoken to you about it before. So I was kind of like,
I'm not gonna not listen.
Yeah, like I said, metal album of the year.
Yeah.
As a big protest fan, like that's a big thing for me to say.
To be honest, I'm going to listen to all your recommendations, especially Protest, because I've been meaning to get back into Protest because you guys obviously kept up your interest in the band. So yeah,
I mean, you've missed this and Volition.
Volition was their best
at this
album,
point,
I think,
which
Dennis,
is like that's insane.
Yeah, wow. You missed them at their peak almost.
Better than Fortress, Volition was?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's on par for me. I know Hattie likes it more than I do.
I really fucking liked it.
Okay, I'll definitely.
We're digressing. Jack, give your gift. Give
Dennis his
gift.
So my gift for you, Dennis, is an acousticy, punky kind of songwriting duo. I don't know if you'll have heard of them here.
That's one way to do it.
The Front Bottoms.
And In Flames.
Yeah, and In Flames, yeah. The sickest collab. This is what you wish Skepta was. For anyone watching the stream and not the Zoom call, I've put it as my background because you won't be able to see that on the stream, so I've just ducked out of the way for no reason. But yeah,
you're like George Bush when that dude threw the shoe.
This is a fantastic album from a fantastic band. I think you really like them. They're a very kind of hometown American sound, but they're almost they definitely err on the side of DIY and punkiness. And I wanted to recommend it to someone. It almost made it in my top 3. I almost swapped this with Jacob Collier and recommended and gave you Collier as a gift, but I feel like you'll appreciate this kind of vibe more. If you do, there's another album they've got called Broken Talon from years ago, which is fucking sick. And there's another punk band. If you like any of this, there's another punk band called Against Me that started in this same kind of acoustic-y kind of way.
Listening to it, it doesn't sound like, this sounds like a style that was really popular in the early 2000s. You know, bands like Alien Ant Farm, and just disappeared. Like it's that sort of pop punk sort of sound, and it just and I loved it. I love that sound.
They definitely they seem like they're kind of outside things now, I feel like, but yeah, they definitely would have fitted in with the shit we were listening to back in school.
Yeah, and I actually made a mistake. I thought it was like the Front Bottoms and In Flames. No, the album is called In Sickness and In Flames.
Yeah, that would be a crazy fucking collaboration album.
Yeah, it would be an absolutely crazy. But yeah, cool. Definitely check that out. Sounds like I'll quite enjoy that. So
what'd you get me?
Jack's gifts.
Jack's gifts. Who should you want to go first, Hattie?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. I'm gonna do again my shoddy phone album cover. I don't have a printout, but I know how to work Zoom, which is so. Again, I'm not sure. Maybe you would have heard of this. Maybe you're familiar with this artist. Maybe you've talked about it. But if not, you're gonna fucking love it. Lianne La Havas, self-titled.
Oh yeah.
Have you listened to this?
Yeah, I've not listened to it, but I love her.
You love her? Okay, yeah. So she's fucking sick. Again, this would have been somewhere in my top 5 if we were doing a general top 5. But in particular, I knew this. You would like this. So yeah, obviously for people that don't know, you know, she's a British female singer-songwriter. One of my favorites. This album, again, like with Thundercat, it was a bit of a grower at first. I just thought, it's okay, not the best effort from her, but upon re-listens, you know, I got really into it. You know, she's got an incredible voice. One of the best technical vibratos I find from a singer. She's just so powerful, but even though you know, she's smooth and her voice is fragile at the same time, she's just such a good technical singer. You know, she can go from kind of almost like a whispering, sultry vocal to absolutely belting it, and she does it brilliantly on this album. And the instrumental, the songwriting, the production is great. It's kind of, you know, at points it's folksy, it's jazzy, it's poppy, but there's so much attention to the detail with the composition that, again, I find I knew you would like it. So I'm glad you're a fan of her in general, because it's a good effort. It's a good album.
She never what I love about her is that she's got so much range, but she never outgrows the song.
Yes,
if she's going way up there, she takes the composition there with her. Yeah.
That weird Fishes cover from Radiohead.
Yeah, so there is a Radiohead cover on this album. I mean, generally, I would probably prefer the original songs to her cover, but the cover's still good. So it's cool that she put a Radiohead cover on there. I think it shows her kind of range in terms of musical interest. Even though the music she makes, it doesn't fit. It doesn't sound like Radiohead. It's cool that she's an artist that's doing different music that has them as an inspiration, because again, they're one of my favorite bands, for those that don't know.
Yeah, it does sound very different. It doesn't sound like alternative rock. It sounds like R&B, neo soul type.
She blends a lot, but I mean, it's like she said, she doesn't let these kind of elements overtake the quality of the song. A lot of the songs kind of at face value sound simple, but you know, charming, but there is depth there when you want to find it.
Final thoughts?
I haven't got a recommendation from you, Dennis.
Oh yeah, I was just about to move on to my recommendation.
My final thought is accept your gift and like it.
All right, I have to relearn how to work Zoom again. There we go. It's off. So my next recommendation to you, Jack, is Ultra Mono by Idols. This album, obviously Idols, punk album. I wasn't sure whether you'd heard this already. Has Idols, have they been on your radar at all?
Not really.
I cannot believe that. Well, in that case, this is a great way to get into Idols. punk, modern punk, from Bristol. If you want to listen to a song that I would recommend, track 4, I think. What was that called? I have to remember. One of the grounds right off the bat. Fucking love the keyboards in that little keyboard bit in that. Oh, it's so good, and it stays all the way through. At the same time, the vocals really work. They're sort of like punky, sort of like gruff vocals, but not like too far. Like it fits. It fits. It sounds like he's trying to sing. It sounds artistic, but at the same, it doesn't sound like he's just being shitty for the sake of being, as in being making a gruff voice for the sake of having a gruff voice. It sounds like a stylistic choice.
Not to beat a dead horse, but that's another sick album cover. This year is good for good music that's featured good covers.
And I think it's painted as well.
I like that.
Yeah. I've heard a couple of the tracks off. I'm trying to find the album title now.
Joy is an Act of Resistance.
Yeah. But I've never known who they're by, but I recognise. I'm gonna listen now. I recognise a couple.
They have been huge in the last couple of years. They hit the scene hard. Another one for you, Model Village. To be honest, a bunch of these. The lyrics are great. The lyrics are fun. They're a British band, obviously, so you get like that British culture in there as well. I thoroughly enjoy this album, and as you're quickly becoming the resident punk fan of the podcast, for some contemporary punk there for you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. I think that's our lists.
So that was our list.
Everything.
Yeah, that's our top for this year. On to 2021. Hopefully, we'll have plenty of more to draw on for next year. Many more albums as we progress.
Well, I was just going to say, if we just say kind of for next episode or next episodes what we're doing. I think we're having a break next week, right, for a Christmas break.
Yeah,
and then I believe
there'll be a topic up next week.
Yeah.
Topic discussion.
A mini episode.
It'll be how you're talking about music taste and the evolution of your individual like discovery of music over time. And then we'll have some time off for Christmas as well.
Yeah.
Coming back with
and then we're going to the Kanye tier list.
Kanye tier list. I'm looking forward to this because I kind of gave up on Kanye after graduation, to be honest with you guys, because I bought into all the hype that was. I know, and now I'm going back and I'm like, what the fuck did I miss out on?
I'm gonna be so mad when we do these rankings.
The biggest challenge for me would be spacing these out. You know, after graduation, after 808s. Like spacing, trying to use as much of the tier lists as possible. That's going to be a challenge because otherwise, I just put.
Like I said, I've got my formative rankings that I will do new listens to make sure I've got everything in place. But so far, I've got something in every tier, which I don't think I could say for many artists. But he's got an album that would fit in every tier, from GOAT to trash. That's all I'll say.
Right.
That might change.
So first week back, we're 2021. Yeah, we're looking at the Kanye tier list.
Cool. And if we didn't make it clear already, we'll be looking to do a playlist of like best tracks from our lists today. So a selection of all of our stand-up songs from like the albums we've talked about, and should be sharing that with for Apple Music and Spotify, I believe, at some point.
Okay, should we wrap it up then, boys?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Thanks. Awesome. Thanks a lot for tuning in and supporting us. Follow us on Twitter. What's our Twitter, Hattie?
It's the hashtag is TRP_pod. So TRP pod, basically. TRP_pod.
Okay. We're on YouTube as well as Jack.
The Record Players. SoundCloud is the Record Players. iTunes Music. Look for the Record Players. Comment. Feel free to comment
See if you agree with our list. If there's any album recommendations you have for us that you liked, well, I would love to hear some because no shortage of great music, really.
I want to read some ridiculous comments at the start of an episode as well. Like, I just want to find. I don't care what platform they're on, but I just want to find a ridiculous review or comment or something.
Once we're at the level where we've got like regular listener feedback,
give them their 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening, and catch you guys next time.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas as well. Damn.
It's the man in the fucking like elf jumper or whatever.
Both of you just hate Christmas then.
Well, Hattie's the Grinch. I would say.
All right.
Cheers.
I got my mince pies in.
Peace.
Nice.